Last mission. Final boss mode.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully that things improve by then. But the big news, though, in boxing is the most unexpected one. It was so unexpected. You're thinking that, man, someone found a fucking time stone or something and utilized it. What I'm saying?
All the damn
yeah. Where's Thanos?
Dragon Balls.
So pretty much, imagine that surprise. Then obviously Mike Tyson's been putting out videos and stuff like that of him doing pad work and shit like that. Now, and of course, Mike Tyson being Mike Tyson, those videos got a hell of a lot of attention, hell of a lot of views.
He was getting mad offers. Dudes wanted him to do bare knuckle boxing, this and that.
Right, and and since it's Mike Tyson. Because Mike Tyson has a lot of celebrity fans, like like a lot of celebs, a lot of fighters, both MMA fighters and boxers, especially MMA fighters. They love that dude, So it's just like dude, they mark out when they see him, like oh Mike, and then you have people that are like Mike could become heavyweight champion of the world, which is another conversation, So
the heavyweights look so bad where you almost really be like, no. But we all know nobody in their 50s need to be taking heavyweight punches. So
hell no.
He looks so good on the bag. And then you don't see nobody with the hand speed and the ferociousness like that. So it's not Tyson's fault really.
No, it's not. Tyson can only do. I'm not gonna. We can't blame Tyson for being a technically sound fighter and also being one of the hardest punchers of all time.
It's still fast. It still looked like he could give people a good round or two of work. Like that's the thing. And honestly, I blame all the elite fighters in boxing right now for this fight. If you want to blame somebody,
right? And then we'll definitely get into one byproduct of what happened. With that, in terms of what LB is talking about, but him in an 8-round exhibition with another former great, Roy Jones Jr. So it really is like this is like going back to the early 2000s, 2003. Thinking to myself like
when the fight was actually talked about, almost made for like
it should have happened
a piece.
Yeah, it should have happened.
Roy Jones didn't want it because he wanted, I think it was 18 or 17 mil.
Right, and honestly, truthfully, Mike Tyson was still a pay-per-view draw in 2003. So, and they would have more than made up for that, and then some.
Of course, bro. They had everybody. Look, I was at the Source Awards that year in the crowd when they announced that fight on stage. When they had Roy Jones and Mike Tyson, I think they was presenting an award, and Mike Tyson was like, yeah, I think, do y'all want to see me take this new belt from Roy Jones, this little trinket?
I remember that.
The crowd went crazy, bro. The energy, like, people was like, yeah! Like if that fight could have did like 700K pay-per-views at least if it would have happened then. People didn't even care about the Lennox Lewis knockout. People just cared about Roy Jones and Mike Tyson. Lewis never had the fans like Roy Jones did either.
Exactly.
So yeah, that fight would have been something, but and Florida curse, Tarver just talked too much shit for Roy to ignore, and the rest is history.
Exactly, unfortunately, and that's the sad thing too, because when Roy beat John Ruiz for the heavyweight belt, that was basically that was his peak in terms of everything that was Roy Jones.
That was like he wasn't physical peak, but that was the pinnacle of hhis powers at that moment. Like,
right,
yeah,
the highest he reached ever, and that was it.
Yeah, and dude, at heavyweight, this is where he could have taken over as a draw from a fading Tyson, a fading Holyfield, a Lewis that was probably had one foot in retirement.
Evander didn't want it.
Yeah, you know.
I remember I wanted that, but Evander didn't want it.
I mean, there were plenty.
But he fought the guy that Roy Jones gave a shellacking to instead.
Yeah, exactly.
and got knocked out, where he would have probably just lost a decision to Roy. So
right. I mean, like I said, there were fights for Roy at heavyweight. There was a Tony rematch because Tony was hot. There was a Chris Bird because he had the IBF belt at the time.
Yeah.
Like these were fights that all had interest.
I actually think Chris would have presented the toughest challenge for him at that time.
Well, I
don't speak. They don't say anything.
I would have just been rooting for Chris Bird to get knocked out. I wouldn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Oh man! But
all I know is at the end of the day, neither Tony or damn Jones wanted any parts of Chris Bird. But everybody and their mom always was talking about how they're more skilled than Chris Bird was.
Well, Tony was.
I don't remember anybody saying that. I remember people just saying he was boring. Like, I don't remember anybody fronting on his skills.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was.
See, back then, boring was looked at way worse than it is now.
The only thing I give Chris props for is Chris's resume is full of monsters. Like, dude fought a whole lot of monsters in his career, and unfortunately, that he probably paid the price physically a little bit by doing that.
Yeah, because he got like nerve damage syndrome or something.
He has some real issues. I mean, you take punches from Klitschko's and Ibeabuchi and Holyfields, and Galatas and Jamil McClines and Povetkins and shit.
Yeah, it adds up,
It adds up, yeah. So, I mean, and that's why I give him props for, But
that was a fight that could have been made. They could have did something.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen, and
Roy unfortunately went back to light heavyweight, and the rest is history. So now, 17 years later, I mean, you have 50-year-old versions of both fighters faded, and Roy Jones obviously probably had the most brutal knockout losses, more than Tyson. You see, and now they're in the ring again for 8-round exhibition, 12-ounce gloves, and no headgear.
You said no headgear?
No headgear.
Oh wow, no headgear. How the fuck is this an exhibition?
You see what I'm saying? Hold
on, they legit said no headgear?
Yeah, it said no headgear. It's like how's this possible?
That's not an exhibition then. Like, look, if this shit gonna look like Chavez and Arce, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, and the funny thing too, I mean, this is not the first pay-per-view exhibition Mike Tyson has done. Mike Tyson did it against Corey Sanders a year after he retired.
And Tyson wasn't in the shape he was then that he is in now.
And he still was whooping on Sanders.
Yeah, and he still almost knocked him out.
Yeah,
he's like, oh shit, I hit him too hard. Let me carry him up. Let me hold him up. Like, bro, like we get it. Like, this guy sucks.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And this is just like my little quandary is like, personally, like, I mean, when you hear all this, like, it doesn't sound like a damn exhibition if they're gonna be fighting without no damn headgear. I'm like, they're not prime fighters; they're 50-year-old fighters. Like this shit needs to be a little bit more controlled because you can just see that it's just planting the seeds of fuckery. Just having this type of fight,
they need headgear, bro. Like, like
Roy Jones,
I don't really like any type of hard sparring without headgear because at that point, to me, I look like it's a real fight then.
Exactly. And Roy's chin is Roy. To me, I think Roy has some actual damage more than Mike does. In terms of like,
I mean, he had more fights and more. His fights went the distance too.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah, Roy went on too long. Mike at least got out.
And you could say Mike went on a little too long too, but it's the disparity because it's like we saw Mike, go through his ups and downs, do movies, this, that, but somehow through that whole process, Mike, he became a bigger celebrity and he got healthier and he's in a much better place than he was 17 years ago.
Right.
Roy's being Roy. He's training. He's still trained. He's still be in Russia. He be fishing. He be doing everything. But you know, he stopped fighting a lot later, like just 3 years ago.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
And the thing is, he was still quick. He still had both guys still have their trademarks. Like Roy still has the quick hands and the flashiness. Not on the level of his prime, of course. Same thing with Tyson, but
the speed is still there.
Yeah, when you compare him to other guys in their same division, like there ain't too many guys that look faster than Roy Jones at light heavyweight right now.
No, there isn't. No, but but with Roy though, I mean, you could tell. I mean, he was fighting probably the last 6 years or so. I mean, you could tell. I mean, with the exception of one fight, like he was fighting like a whole lot of low C-level fighters, like because he obviously, it got to a point where it got so bad with Roy that they thought that he could beat what's his name, Enzo Maccarinelli. I always forget how to pronounce that fucking name.
Maccarinelli.
Yeah, so and Enzo has probably the worst chin I've seen of any world champion. I mean, the worst. Yeah. And Roy he knocked Roy out cold. So it's just like, and that's when I was like, yeah, Roy does not need to be fighting no name fighters or no fighters or anything like that.
Yeah.
He has no knees. His knees are completely gone.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like Roy, if you take away Roy's footwork, you done took away like half the fighter.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm pretty sure he hasn't done like actual road work in like almost 15 years.
Yeah, he probably could just do the little shadow boxing shit, but it's not the same. Like even then, like, you know, when you got bad knees, you don't want to be out there doing a road work. You know, you're gonna have to hit the treadmill instead. If Roy could do that.
No, he was still like doing other shit. Like he was still sparring because my coworker, you know, that used to box, he sparred him in like 07, 08, and he said hand speed was still there. Everything, his knees were shot. Like he couldn't move at all like he used to.
Yeah, against Tyson, you can't move. I mean, speed is one thing, but if you can't move against Tyson, if he starts moving in, like that's a bad thing.
Yeah, see, Tyson's the type of style where you got to go in 100% with like your full body. He's not one of these guys where you could just beat him top half.
Yeah.
Or beat him bottom half and just move, but you know, don't punch type shit. Nah, you need to be in sync with everything to really stop that type of style. Like, I couldn't imagine, you know, a guy fighting Tyson and he can't move.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that's suicide. Because Michael will just wipe you out. You know, no matter how good your chin is. Or how good you think your chin.
He seemed like he still could hit those angles with those damn with the hooks and shit, man.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
you don't really see Roy hit those angles like that.
Yeah, so
him just go back into the ropes like like he's been doing for the last 20 years.
Yeah, and then you know,
I don't want to see a super bad KO.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. It's just like, I mean, this should be more. I mean, first of all, I mean, I don't know why they're doing this, but it's pay-per-view. So and then because obviously because they have nostalgia factor. Both fighters are all-time greats.
It'll sell. It'll definitely sell.
It'll sell. Yeah.
Momentum.
And then what's even more kind of sad too is the date was on September 12th. That's the day for it, and that date was supposed to be a date for Canelo's next fight. You know,
oh Lord.
Yeah. Say goodbye to that. But see, the thing is, Tyson and Roy Jones, they're international. Like, they icons, they legends. Like, Mexicans like them too. So
exactly.
Why not use the date? Like, why? What? I'm sure they're bummed out because they won't see Canelo and Quigley fight. I mean, and that's what led to my earlier point that I blame the elite superstars in this era for this fight. Because if they would have been giving everybody the fights that they want to see, people would just like Tyson, Roy Jones, like, nah.
Yeah.
But you don't give anybody anything and they're always reaching and wanting more. The first thing that they recognize that, you know, that they used to love, they'll go back to it on some like, yeah, okay, fuck, I'll watch that.
Yeah,
because what other super fights we got coming up for it? And it's sad I even say super fights because a regular good fight should eclipse damn Tyson Roy Jones at this stage.
Facts.
And somebody needs to give Callum Smith that $6.5 million. Dump it down. Dump it on him now.
Yeah, I told you, didn't I say? I was like, man, it's on Canelo. Like, Canelo, if I was in his shoes, I know I'm getting 35 mil, 25 mil. Look, take a mil from my purse, give it to this nigga, let me fight him, get it over with. But all this greedy, and they could have been promoting this shit the whole summer. Yeah. What they do, they finger fuck opponents with this bullshit. They pussyfoot with the damn negotiations. First is Saunders, versus this guy. Then you got guys like Willie Monroe thinking they deserve the fight, and you know, it's a whole bunch of bullshit. Meanwhile, Roy Jones and Tyson are just doing their own thing, and then suddenly they have a fight and shuts down boxing.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like that shit got mainstream attention quick. Yeah. Like Canelo's supposed to be the so-called face of boxing, you know, and no one. And I said, I mean, he can pick Callum Smith for all he wants. In the end, no, it's not going to.
Then it's too late if he picks Callum Smith. Even pay him $7 million. It's like the damage is done.
Right.
Callum Smith needed that check damn 3 months ago, or Caleb Plant, or even Billy Joe Saunders. Like you had Andre, all of these guys, man. Like this, honestly, Canelo's had more prime opponents that would have been interesting fights than I would say Pacquiao and Floyd when they was boxing and in their prime. I mean, think about it. Like
now I'm thinking about it. I'm really thinking about that for a minute now.
When you really look at it, when you look at the whole welterweight era that Pacquiao and Floyd was in, even when Floyd retired for that little couple years, whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna say that welterweight division was hot when he retired.
It was hot. But you're comparing Margarito, Paul Williams, guys like that. I'm gonna just naming the guys that neither one. Oh, I forgot Pacquiao did fight him. Well, anyway, those were the names. You had Clottey, you had Cotto, you had all these names circulating, which was good.
Yeah.
But compare that to Canelo with. All right, let me go. Triple G.
Andre. Charlo.
Charlos. I would say both Charlos. That's two right there.
Billy Joe Saunders. Okay, now you're making sense. Now you're making sense because he has multiple divisions.
Yeah, like we weren't expecting all these fights from Floyd and Pacquiao because it was just really based down to one division. And even the Winky Wright fight that was proposed with Floyd, that shit fizzled out.
That shit was never happening. I didn't even look at that shit.
It was talked about, bro. It wasn't no like that fight.
No, I remember it was talked about, but I never looked at it as realistic.
I don't know, but I can't compare that to them. Like, you know, that fight was just as realistic as Beater B even Canelo right now.
Exactly. Yeah, that was definitely a real fight, but you know.
Yeah. It was a bad matchup for Floyd. But Floyd has fought guys who don't match up with him that often, don't match up with him that good before, so we didn't really make it a big deal. Whereas Canelo, like, he stays away from guys that are bad matchups for him, and it's obvious.
Mm-hmm. It's very
especially in this part of his career, like, you know, you think he's gonna roll the dice on Andre?
No, of course not.
Like, dude, you got wins over Trout and Lara. Like, what's wrong? I mean, you got to win over Golovkin, even though it's controversial. Whatever, did that make you afraid of the Charlo brothers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is like I said, this is a byproduct. I mean, you know, you can't have two faded fighters draw more interest in your in their fight, in their exhibition, than you facing somebody.
These are legends. These are legends.
But a superstar, bruh, like, come on.
And
like,
these were legendary superstars in their time, so that built up such a fan base.
That are 17 years past it, bruh.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, think about it. What fight back in damn 2009 or 2010 would have been bigger than Floyd and Pacquiao from an earlier generation?
This is true.
And not even mention Floyd with Pacquiao. Just what fight would be bigger than Pacquiao Claude from that era?
Now I'm just trying to think of old niggas that would like, nah, 'cause I can't. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like you got two guys from damn 3-4 eras ago, damn taking your shine.
Right. And no one's thinking other because they're like, yeah, it's Mike Tyson and Roy Jones. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's like Canelo's an afterthought. Like shit they wanted to pull that shit on Fury Wilder.
Right.
Or Anthony Joshua fight.
Right. And you know what's also worse too is there's another confirmed fight that's also touching upon the YouTube whole connection, you know. And me and Ellie were talking about this fight earlier. We're talking about Jake Paul. You know,
I knew he was gonna say that.
And Nate Robinson.
On a confirmed fight against Nate Robinson. You know, so now. Because now not only does this card have a nostalgia factor, it has the YouTubers there.
Yeah,
and
the
actual NBA
the Carney factor. Ugh.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, man. Like, Nate Robinson got his fans. Jake Paul got his fans.
Yeah.
They both look like they taking boxing somewhat serious.
Right.
I was at the last Jake Paul fight, and they was going bananas in the crowd.
Right.
For one round,
like,
somebody,
it's just,
you know,
it's just crazy. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and like I said, this is the type of stuff. I mean, this is selling boxing. Like, I mean, the headliner should be able to sell boxing like this is being sold. Like right now, I mean, literally right now, you know, depending on whatever fights they sign to this shit, you know, that Tyson Roy Jones pay-per-view has a chance to actually hit 1 million. Buy.
So we got
entertaining. That's the thing. Like,
that's crazy.
Like Jake Paul definitely has more talent for boxing than Logan Paul.
Yeah, he does.
Like, definitely. Like, and Nate Robinson didn't look that bad on the mitts.
Why don't we just add fucking on the undercard? Let's make the cipher complete. Why don't we just add fucking Joe Budden versus Gilly the Kid?
Hey. People, now you got the hip hop urban market. Like,
yeah.
Look, I'd rather you put all these fights on one card instead of having this fight on a legit boxing card. Just throw a whole fan card. Fuck it. Tyson Roy Jones, YouTube nigga versus YouTube nigga B. You know, rapper A versus rapper C. Like, and just go from there.
Right, and then this will probably, and then this will also wake up the old school, like the other boxing promotions. Like, you know, you gotta. I mean, PBC is doing the part to at least step up the fights needed. But you know, Top Rank with Golden Boy, Matchroom 2 a little bit needed.
They still fucking around.
Yeah, they're fucking around. They need a kick in the ass. And this is the first one, and like I said, I mean, it'll probably be entertaining, but morally, I think it's just gonna be bad because
especially without the headgear. Like with the headgear, I'd be like, okay, cool. I wasn't even really opposed to the fight. Now I'm learning that without the headgear, I'm kind of like,
yeah, you know, I mean, because like I said, I mean, Mike Tyson, I mean, yes, he can still, but his stamina now at 54 years old, I mean, I'm pretty sure he'll probably do nowhere to maybe 2 or 3 rounds tops, even with the weight loss and everything like that.
Dude, people were saying that in 2003.
Yeah, I mean, look, he was facing. I mean, look, we got KO. I mean, Kevin McBride literally KO'd him because Tyson could barely throw combinations, and
but Tyson more so gave up on himself in that fight. He just said, "Fuck it." Like, the Danny Williams is a more accurate And the Clifford ATN fight was more. Well, he actually kind of trained for the ATN fight, even though that was on some circuit shit with Freddie Roach.
Yeah, I mean, ATN got clocked and laid down because he got hit. You know, Danny Williams though was lucky that Tyson tore something in his knee because he was getting lit up.
Yeah. But you know, the boxing gods gave him karma.
Yeah, exactly.
And Vitaly Klitschko literally beat the shit out of this man. My goodness.
Yeah.
Anybody who thought the Shannon Briggs fight was bad, watch that Vitaly Klitschko Danny Williams fight.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, like that's.
Yeah,
wow.
I'll pass.
You never seen that fight?
No, I have seen it, and I'll pass. That shit was fucking.
Like you don't relive certain ass whoopings.
Yeah, you don't want to relive like fucking torture methods. Like, nah, I'm good on that.
Yeah, and
every now and then I like a good ass whooping though. Like I rewatched Chad Dawson and Eric Harden before. Like, and damn, Chad Dawson.
Now, why would you put yourself through that?
I was a Chad Dawson fan, and he really beat the shit out of Eric Harden that night.
Bruh, that was an ass whoop. Like, there's some ass whoopings that I just don't want to watch again because it's just, it's too painful.
I'd rather see that than damn Floyd play Pot Shot Kings with Canelo.
Yeah,
I'll take a good ass whooping over a boxing lesson any day.
Or in my case, like, I mean, I definitely don't ever want to watch Mike Tyson and Kevin McBride again. And the funny thing too, with Kevin McBride is a year later he gets knocked out in 2 by Mike Malos. And so that was his actual level. So it was just someone like that beating Mike Tyson and getting knocked out like that.
Damn. You said a name there, Mike Malo. He had some good scraps back in the day on ESPN Friday Night Fights.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Mike Malo. Yeah, damn. Yeah, you ain't gonna hear that name mentioned that often.
Right, exactly. But that was the level of Kevin McBride. So it's just like, you know, Tyson. I mean, like I said, Tyson. Yeah, he's probably healthier than he's been in quite some time. But we don't know the boxing shape. I mean, he hasn't fought in about 15 years. So, and then we have Roy, who has no knees and he probably has a little brain damage by now. So we don't know. So it's just gonna be. I mean, all it's gonna take is for one of them to take a shot that they don't like, and they're gonna go at it. I mean,
I don't think anybody likes a shot, but don't take a shot they don't like, nigga.
I just don't see how they're gonna pull this off. Like where, I mean, it's where I mean, I'm pretty sure Mike can take Roy's power, but Roy can't not take Mike's power.
I don't even know about that yet, bro.
Yeah. I mean, Mike's a tough guy.
How many people Mike fought with the hand speed of Roy Jones like that?
Not too many people actually at heavyweight have the hand speed of Roy Jones.
Yeah. Period. So but I feel you, like it might be one of those who lands the best shot first, but I don't think they're doing the headgear shit due to advertisement purposes. Because I think what's the app? I think Triller app or something promoting the fight or paid for it, and
yeah,
you got those two legends. You want them to be seen, but nigga, just have them rock a T-shirt with their name or some shit, man. What the fuck?
Oh man. So, but I mean, obviously they're both training seriously. Roy, is in slides, doing mitt work. Mike is in the shirt, throwing his legendary combinations at mitts and shit. So it's, it has interest. It has legs. The casuals have already bought it pretty much in their heads. It has the sporting world already, because I've said, Mike Tyson is probably your favorite athlete's athlete.
Favorite athlete's favorite athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said,
that's the best way to say it, really. And you top guys who let this happen, Canelo, Crawford, who I don't know who he's ever gonna fight this year. Yeah, you guys.
Yeah, you guys should be ashamed of yourself, really, because this is happening. And
give the fans the fights people want when they want it. Shit like this doesn't happen.
Exactly.
But when you pussyfoot around and you try to play diva and all this shit, this is what happens.
Right.
So don't get mad when damn Terry Norris wants to fight fucking Trinidad or some shit next.
Right.
So that's all I'm saying. Like,
right.
don't get mad when Oscar De La Hoya come back and fight somebody better than Canelo was gonna fight.
But you know what's funny too? When Oscar started saying that shit too, especially when he said he could probably face Canelo, he started getting attention. A lot more attention than he probably should have.
A lot more attention than his own fighter was getting.
Exactly.
Like, bruh, it's like the whole argument when people be like, damn, all these old ass rappers, man, why y'all keep rapping and keep talking shit and hating this, that, because y'all young niggas is still garbage and y'all ain't making the right songs and shit that's resonating with everybody. We're from the old and new and all of that. Like,
yeah, that's exactly why the versus format right now is so damn popular, because literally it's making people go back to the old days, because you can't do a versus with some of these new niggas out here today. You can't.
Yeah. What artists from the last 5 years I would want to see a versus? Like, somebody be like, oh, J. Cole and Kendrick, I'll watch, but I'm not gonna be like, oh my god, like, yo, this nigga put this on. Like, nah.
So yeah, I mean, you, like I said, boxing, you do this to yourselves, man. So like, at the end of the day, we don't like the fight, but we know why it's happening, how it's happening, and just like you gotta look at the man in the mirror. That's literally this is boxing. Today's boxing. It's your fault that Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. think they can come out of retirement and do an 8-round exhibition on pay-per-view, and no one says shit about it.
But wins the fight.
Yeah.
How much?
Yeah, how much? Exactly.
Yeah, discount? Fuck, I don't need a discount. Take my money.
Oh man.
Pay-per-view, who cares? Like, oh man, y'all gonna make Vitaly Klitschko come back and fight somebody, like.
Oh, don't encourage him.
Bruh, like, shit, I've been trying to encourage all the elite guys to make the fights we want to see, and that ain't working.
Maybe we can get the Klitschko brothers to come back and spar each other, but shit, that's the only thing I'm interested in.
Yeah, I mean, did you grow up with a brother that you had to fight with all the time?
I did.
You said no?
No, I didn't.
Damn, so why you want to see that happen?
Why the fuck not?
Pat, like if a nigga gave you 50 racks, you would spar your brother?
I don't think my brother would spar me.
There you go. There you go.
My brother's more of an athlete than me, but he's not me with hands.
Yeah, exactly. That's like Vitaly, like Vladimir's the boxer, but Vitaly was the fighter.
Right.
And with being the fighter comes a certain meanness.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not gonna put them through that shit.
Yeah,
Next he'll be like, well, I think Golovkin should fight his brother on pay-per-view, like,
right.
and spar, like no, have Canelo walk the gauntlet with his brothers on pay-per-view, like.
Right? Yeah, I mean he has like 7 of them. Shit.
Shit, that might be better than any Canelo fight. Shit like a Power Ranger scene, like niggas jumping around this ginger kid throwing hands.
Oh man, boxing! This is the nonsense. This is the byproduct of the nonsense that you do. So, stay tuned. In less than 2 months, Roy Jones Jr. versus Mike Tyson on pay-per-view. Imagine saying this in 2020. I never thought I'd ever say this in fucking 2020.
I wonder if they gonna get more money than they were for the original fight.
Oh man,
that's the big question. Is Roy gonna get his 18 mil or whatnot?
Right. I mean, I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure they're getting paid somehow. But if they end up paying 18 mil, then I could definitely see Floyd coming out of retirement and like, you know what, I'm gonna do these shits now. Bring up the next MMA fighter or somebody. Because Floyd had no problem going on talking to Fat Joe, talking about, yeah, I'm the originator of this shit.
Yeah, nah, he was bugging when he said that shit.
Yeah, he was bugging. He definitely was not the first fighter doing exhibition. Muhammad Ali did one when he was active.
That's the thing. It's like Floyd interviews don't really impress me. Like they're not interesting to me because I feel like everyone panders to him, and they allow him to just get away with bullshit answers. Like the whole, I'm older than Pacquiao, so how are we not in my prime? Like, bruh, like you know boxing too well to act like that's what we're talking about.
I mean, I think the only person that didn't let him get away with that shit is when he did one with interview with R.A. the Rugged Man, who actually pressed him.
Yeah, and Brian Kenny.
Yeah, too. So.
And then you don't get those you get those interviews once every blue moon in fucking 18 years type shit.
Yeah. And
if the interview ain't like that, then I'm good. I don't want to hear this nigga just, grandstand and talk about how great he was, this, that. You got fight hype for that shit.
Right.
So I mean, now pass. No hate. I'm just saying what it is. What it is. I know I'm not doing that.
Although people look back on that R.A. the Rugged Man back and forth foolish, now it looks bad on him because now like they're laughing at him like in retrospect, like he said Floyd was ducking all these people and then he went to go fight him. Like
yeah, that kind of proves his point. If somebody has to talk shit about you ducking people, then you go and fight them.
Right.
So I mean, it don't look bad. I mean, it look worse because you're doing what he said you couldn't do. Like, because the motherfucker shamed you into doing it. So I mean, you can look at it either way. Like maybe the stands look at it like, whoa, it proved him wrong. Like the fact that he had to prove a fucking C-level rapper, underground rapper wrong is the problem.
Yeah.
Like that's like me saying something about like, man, Canelo, he had never fight Golovkin and Caleb Plant in the same year. And someone plays him the interview and he's like, oh, really? And then he goes and does it the next year. I would be like, yes, fuck it, finally. Like he had 2 tough fights in a row and no bullshit.
Word.
Yo, but people might be like, well, them niggas is hating, but low key, we know, like, damn, that's all we wanted in the first fucking place.
Yeah.
Right. Oh man, Tyson, Roy, having this conversation in 2020. It's interesting. Boxing, man, son. Boxing, it's not some other shit this year. That's for damn sure.